Hello and welcome back to the Shauna Stitches podcast. Welcome back if you're joining me again and you've watched my other podcasts, and welcome if this is the first time you're joining me. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click subscribe on YouTube to be notified when I upload other videos, and the YouTube address or YouTube name is Shauna Stitches Podcast. You can also find me on Ravelry under the username Shauna825. That'll list all my projects, and I do have a podcast group called Shauna Stitches Podcast under Ravelry also. So find me there, Shauna Stitches, and please join. We actually have a lot more members joining up now, and people are posting their works in progress and their finished objects, and it's a lot of fun actually getting to see what other people are working on. It's always inspiring to see what other people have on the needles or are getting off the needles. Let's see. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, you can find me on Instagram under Shauna Stitches also. I post a lot of my finished objects and what I'm working on there also. What else? Let's see. I guess if I look a little flustered today, sound a little flustered, I guess that's for a couple reasons, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But one being I've been sick for the last week, so you can probably hear it in my voice. I know it sounds kind of gravelly, and I actually lost it for a while, so I'm glad to have it back. Let's see. I guess FOs. My first FO are my Peppermint Mocha Socks by CC Allman. And I love how these turned out. I know I had one finished sock last time I podcasted. Now I've got both done. And this is on the Plymouth Yarns Happy Feet 100 sock yarn. And it's super soft. And again, to remind you of the colorway, this is the Purple Iris. And they're super soft. I haven't worn them yet, but I did block them out, wash them. And the yarn is even more plump, and these are going to be super soft and super nice to wear, so I can't wait to actually put them on my feet. Oh, and so I have I forgot to mention socks. I did a 2x2 rib, 9-inch needles, which I use my Chiagu's 9-inch, 2.25 millimeters. I did a fish lips kiss heel, which is quite honestly the only heel I've ever done on socks. I like it, and till something better comes along, I really don't plan on changing that, even though I love the look of the Aya Partridge heel. I haven't looked at the directions, and it just looks difficult. Just a standard rounded toe. I keep forgetting to tell you guys what I'm knitting on, so I'm trying to remember to be better about that. Anyway, so I have two others that I'm going to call finished objects, but they're kind of like a half finished, but they're not even a half. I guess they're a 24th finished. First one is the first block of the Persian Dreams blanket. I don't know how much you could actually see there. Anyway, this has been blocked out, and it's on waste yarn, just some blue acrylic yarn that I had hanging around that I knew I wasn't going to use for anything else. And it is, oh, that's actually chart 2, sorry. Chart 1. That was supposed to be a surprise. I got 2 of them done. Chart 1. There you go. That's chart 1. And this is on 2.75 millimeter needles, knit with Knit Picks Chroma in Natural, which is the white color, and this is Groovy, which is all the green, yellow, and blue yarn. It's a self-striping yarn, in case anyone's interested in what the back looks like. There's the back. And I know I mentioned this last time, but if you're at all thinking about knitting this up, I highly suggest that you join the Facebook group Knitting Together Persian Dreams. Excuse me. They've got a couple of people in there who are almost done with the entire blanket, and they have a lot of good advice and can pretty much answer any question you have. Alright, so not such a surprise. Here's chart 2, which I love chart 2. It is so beautiful. Here's the back. Quite honestly, I just like the design better of chart 2. than chart 1, but I love the colors. This is the same yarn, Groovy. Same color, just it expanded from the blue to purple to pink to like a raspberry color, orange, and green. And so that's the entire colorway between charts 1 and 2. So again, 2.75 needles, that's what I'm used for the whole entire thing. And you do all 24 and then you Kitchener stitch them together, or you can do some other method, but quite honestly, Kitchener doesn't bother me. It's not too difficult. I have actually gotten started on chart 3, which is gonna look funny. It's on 16-inch circular right now, so there's one little chart repeat there. I think it's a violet, maybe. It's hard to tell right now, but there's the flower stem comes up into a flower. And again, Knit Picks Chroma, natural for the white. This is actually Pegasus is the color. And I don't know what the full color repeat's gonna look like because I haven't gotten that far yet. I think there's some, there's more purple and green though, I think. What else? I feel like I'm flying through this podcast today. Oh yes, I do have another whip. I had to miss a week of work, so I got a lot of knitting done, a lot more than I normally would. This is the Caramel Latte Socks by CC Allman. Same designer as the other socks that I've been knitting, the Peppermint Mocha socks that I just mentioned. Those are also by CC Allman, all from a book called Knitting with CC, which you can get on Ravelry. You can buy the individual pattern, or you can buy the book, which has all 6 patterns and a shawl. So this is pattern number 4 from the book for me. And I'll hold this up close so you can see the stitch detail. It's really quite intricate, I think, which honestly it's just a lot of knitting and purling. It's nothing too special. There is one cable in there, which is over here on the side. I don't even think you can see it. I guess you can, but it doesn't cable very much. So when I first started this pattern, I was so flabbergasted by it because the main pattern has 18 rows in it, is one repeat, and the cable pattern on the side has 8-row repeat. So I was completely confused on how to keep track of where I was on the border versus the main pattern. And so I messaged Cece on Ravelry, and she got back to me, and she said, oh, just print it out, use a sticky note, and put a sticky note where you are for the, on what row you're on for the border, and then use another sticky note for where you are on the actual chart, which would have been brilliant, but I always take my patterns from my iPad, so I hand wrote them all down, check them off as I go. It's honestly, it's not hard. I keep track of it just fine. This yarn here is actually pretty interesting. It's all tangled up in my project bag, which I forgot to mention is my Mrs. Brown's bag by Jody. I love it. The yarn is, I have a tag here, Heritage Yarns, or Cascade Yarns Heritage Wave is the yarn. It's 75 merino, 25 nylon, and the colorway is, it doesn't say on here, it's color 506, but it does say on Ravelry that that color is woodsy. So if you can see that, the color I'm using coming from the outside is this lighter color, and it goes into a darker color on the inside with, so the way this yarn is, it's wrapped together, if you can see that. Kind of. I don't know, it still don't want to focus, but you can see it's a majority lighter with a dark wrap, and then when it gets to the inside, it's majority dark with a light wrap, so kind of opposites of each other. And first of all, I think this is the perfect yarn for a sock called Caramel Latte, because if that doesn't look like caramel and coffee, I don't know what does. This yarn is a little difficult to work with because the twist seems really loose. and my needle kind of goes between the different colors that are twisted together, but it's not terrible. It's just something to be careful about. So I showed you the pattern side. Here's what the yarn looks like knit up, just normal. And actually I think it looks really cool like that, and then it looks really cool with the pattern too. And you can still see the pattern. It doesn't just wash away into the knitting. I think you can actually see it pretty well, and it'll probably look even better once it's blocked out. So I was really concerned at first when I started using this. I realized that I'm probably going to get all one sock out of this light color and then all the next sock out of the dark color. But I don't think that's a terrible thing. I know people have their different opinions on wanting their socks to match perfectly, or whether they don't care if they're different. And these will obviously be very different, but with the same pattern. And then the last thing I have to say about this is that this yarn, although much thinner than the peppermint mocha sock yarn, it is so soft. And it's weird, I don't know how to explain it, because the Plymouth yarns was soft in a way that was like really plump and squishy and nice, and this is much thinner, but oh my gosh, the fabric it makes. I know, if there's such a thing as a drapey sock, this is it, because it is like, I guess it's just thinner, but it's so soft. I cannot wait to wear these. What else? Oh yeah, knitting these on a 2.25. I forgot to mention, on the peppermint mocha socks, the pattern suggested to go up to a needle size, so I did go up to 2.5s, and I was nervous about that because I have pretty narrow feet, but they fit perfectly. So trust your pattern designer because they know better than you. Anyways, these are my 2.25 Chiagos. You can see the red cable right there. And again, I will mention that I do like to knit these on the 9-inch circulars. That's my preferred way to do socks. 2 at a time sounds great in my head, and then when I start doing it, I hate it, and it takes forever. So I like this. I mess with the cable a lot less often. So what I like to do is I like to mark my beginning of the round with one stitch marker right there, and then I mark halfway through with the other stitch marker, which isn't absolutely necessary, but it's good to help you stay on track. So when you finish your pattern side of things, that you should be done. Also, when you get to the heel, then you don't have to worry about putting that one in. It just works better for me. What else? So I guess I'll mention why I am kind of like all over the place today. I have spent the last 4 hours dealing with a knitting machine. That's crazy, right? So I had this great idea, which I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on because I still don't know if it's actually going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, then I don't want to like get my hopes up too high and get, I guess maybe hopefully other people's hopes up high that it might work out. But I decided to buy a used knitting machine, which I had to drive like at least a half hour one way to go get it. And I went and picked it up, brought it home, spread it all over my dining room table, and got it set up. And I'll be honest, I have no idea how to use this thing. It's a Toyota Elena Model 7, I think. It's a KS747. It's old. Thing is built like an old Toyota. It's sturdy and strong and heavy. And yeah, so the user manual is obviously old in black and white. I think this model was made in like 1985, if that gives you any idea of what user manuals and knitting machines look like from back then. But I went through the manual and I set it up the best way that I could figure out how to do, and I'm not quite sure that I have the yarn threaded correctly. But here's the deal that I'm running into, and if anyone has a knitting machine or can give me some hints or tips, I've tried Googling it. The most I can come up with for this particular model is the user manual, which I already have, and it's no clearer online than it is in the copy that I have. So you have this row of needles, and you move the needles down, and you thread your yarn through, and you have this little thing that you slide across, and it's supposed to knit when you do that. So I've slid it across the first time. Well, first of all, let me back up. If I slide it across with no yarn, it slides pretty good. I was running into it would get caught up on one spot, so I loosened some screws, got it to where it run fine. Then I added the yarn, and I can get it to run fine the first time. Then you put on this thing, of course I can't remember what it's called, but it's this little plastic piece, and it's got hooks on it, and you hook those hooks onto every other needle, basically, because you only used half the needles for that cast on row. So you hook this thing on. It doesn't seem to want to stay on there straight, and I think that might be part of the problem. But anyway, I can usually get another pass, and then when I go back for the next pass, it will get stuck. Sometimes I can make it through there, but then when I come back, like it's always getting stuck. And it does seem like it's knitting, like there's some stuff adding up there. On the thin yarn, the sock yarn, it was actually breaking the yarn or cutting it. I couldn't tell. I think it's breaking because I'm having to put a lot of force on it. And so I switched to a thicker yarn, just an acrylic, something I didn't care if I wasted. And it's getting to the point where it will just get stuck. Like, it's not breaking it, it's not cutting it, because it's so much thicker and stronger. It just gets stuck. And I feel like it's something I'm doing wrong, because like I said, I can get it to pass through just fine without any yarn, but I don't know, and I can't figure it out. So if anyone has any ideas, has a knitting machine, or can direct me into somewhere, even if it's not the same model, I feel like other models from that time will probably be similar. I tried to watch one YouTube video, and it mentioned like a hand cast on, and this model definitely doesn't say anything about that, so I don't think that's necessary. But anywho, my big idea was to knit up my own sock blanks with this thing, because obviously I'm not going to use it to actually knit with. And I thought that once I got those done, that I would dye some up and put them in an Etsy shop. So I don't know what I'm going to do now. I still really want to do an Etsy shop. I still really want to get into yarn dyeing, because that really interests me. I may just be going for hanks of yarn versus the sock blanks, and I don't know yet. I really wanted to do the sock blanks just because I feel like less people do it, and it makes it a little more special. Plus, I really just think they're fun. But I already have some ideas for colorways, and we'll see if I can execute that the same way it looks in my head. But anyway, I'm really excited about that. So hopefully I should know more by the next time I podcast, and if not, definitely by the next 2 times that I podcast. So that's why I'm flustered. That's my acquisition, my used knitting machine. And I didn't buy, well, not true. I did purchase some yarn, but it isn't here yet, so I'm not going to show it. I'm not even going to talk about it, but I did buy some stuff, which I'm really excited about. And last thing I think I'll talk about, 2 things actually, are some miscellaneous. One that I know many podcasters have mentioned, but I have to mention it also because it's that good. And that is Stranger Things on Netflix. It's a TV show. I think there's 8 episodes in the first season, and it is amazing. I think I binge watched it in 2 days. Like I said, I was sick at home, not moving from the couch, but it is amazing. It's kind of like, well, first of all, it's set in the 80s, and I'm an 80s kid, so I guess that just kind of feels comfortable to me. But it's just really, it's an awesome show, and it is a little scary, but I don't think it's scary because I watch other scary things. It's just suspenseful more than it is scary. And the next thing is I got the Harry Potter book. I went one night when I was sick to the store and bought this and some chocolate because I needed something to make me feel better. And so I haven't gotten very far on this because, like I said, I have been knitting like crazy on the Persian Dreams blanket. It's literally all I want to do. But this is good. So what I'll say about this that is a little different than the other 7 books is that this is a play turned into a book. So it's more like a play. They have the scene setups. For example, picture a large group of busy people and, crowds bustling around. And so there's the setup sentences like that versus just working it into the dialogue. And all that's in italics, and then you actually read the dialogue, which is the real story. But it's different to read, but I feel like the end result in my mind isn't different because I'm a very visual person anyway. So when I'm when I'm reading a book, I see it anyway, so it just kind of helps to paint that picture of what the author really wants you to see. So it's good. Hopefully I will spend some more time reading and actually make my way through it, because I do want to finish it. And I really can't think of much else, but anyways, like I said, if you guys know of any knitting machine resources you can point me towards, I would appreciate that so much. If you have any wholesale yarn, undyed yarn resources that you know of, I kind of already have in mind who I think I'm going to be going through, but if you know of something amazing that I don't or haven't found, that would also be great. And yeah, come join my group on Ravelry, and follow me on Instagram and on YouTube. And in 2 weeks I'll be checking back in with you and hopefully have some updates. So thanks for watching.